Right now, three bills in Springfield intended to increase protections for kids by closing what lawmakers feel are current loopholes. Republican senators leading the charge to eliminate plea deals for suspected traffickers and those that groom minors. The bills would increase penalties for trafficking and related crimes and require sex offender registration for peeping toms. Now, a stakeholder in Peoria tells us the bills look good on the surface and in theory would send a clear message. But the CEO at the Center for Prevention of Abuse also says there's more to it in many of these difficult emotional cases.
Because some survivors, not all, but some survivors prefer a plea agreement to avoid testifying. And that's just a personal choice from someone who has experienced terrible trauma. They may want to get through the whole process faster for faster closure.
Republican sponsors say the problems they see include allowing predators to get a shorter prison term through a plea deal and in some cases avoid sex offender registration while even continuing to work with young people. On the way at 5:30, we'll hear more about these bills.